Hi guys, and welcome back to Alistair Davies Golf. Today's video is all about how the hip should work in the backswing. So I get asked quite a lot by lessons and by people online about how the hip should work in the backswing. And going back a number of years, I think the fashion was always to have them really frozen as we swing back and create as much as what they would call the X factor in the backswing. So that would be the most amount of resistance between the upper body and the lower body in the backswing. Now for me, I've kind of gone away from that with my coaching because I tend to see too many golfers struggle to rotate correctly in the backswing, therefore get an under-rotated backswing and tend to start down by getting too ahead of the ball or coming over the top too much in the golf swing. So you tend to see this frozen and stiff and tense and this kind of action on the way down. It doesn't lead to a rhythmical swing, a smooth swing, or that effortless swing that we would be looking for. So what I want to see with the hips in the backswing particularly is I want to see the hips work in what I would call a deeper fashion. So let the hip rotate, okay, and almost raise up a little bit as it goes back, and let this right leg straighten a little bit in the backswing. This in turn will allow us to rotate our mid-spine correctly the right amount. Now, if you're very flexible, you would have to move the hips less than someone else. Now, my flexibility isn't fantastic, so my hips are going to have to move a little bit more than someone with a lot of flexibility. So, for example, what you can do is take the club and put it across your chest, make a turn and turn as far back as you can without moving anything, and that's about my range there. That's when I get about stuck, if you like. So then to complete my backswing, I then would let my hips turn. Now the amount these hips are turned is going to vary every single golfer. So for me, you might say this is around about 45 degrees or so. To get my shoulders or torso or mid-spine roughly to around about 90 degrees, I have to feel that amount of rotation. And definitely want to see the right hip feel like it goes back in a very straight line, okay, as opposed to a sway. So it's working on this kind of its own arc to create the right amount of turn to get me this kind of what I would class as a loaded backswing, a centered backswing. I don't want the head to move more than, say, 1 inch. Quite happy for it to stay exactly still. But again, depending on flexibility, 1 inch is better than a lack of movement. So 1 inch is okay. So working to the top of the backswing, winding up. And that would allow me then to have the opportunity to get the golf club shallowing out the correct way, the body unwinding the correct way to create the most amount of speed in the most important area. Again, if we think of throwing a ball, if I go to throw a ball in my backswing, I'm going to swing back and load up as best I can to be able to explode. And that's really what the design of this backswing is. If I can work my hips in a way so I'm wound up without over-winding and being too stuck, if you like, and too tense, I've still got some room then to separate a little bit in the start of the downswing. So I separate a bit, I squat a little bit, the hand path goes out and down at the same time, the club head mass shallows. That gives me the opportunity then to create the most speed and rotate through the golf ball the best way possible. So realistically what I'm saying is I would like the right hip to go up and back and turn, the weight go towards my right heel ever so slightly. It kind of goes very linearly, ball of foot to ball of foot. But if it's going to favor anyway, for me, I'd want it to favor the heel, okay? And then from there, as we come down, it goes back to that kind of linear fashion and then goes more towards the left heel. So the hips kind of work on this kind of axis a little bit more so than being frozen. So don't be scared when you're making your swings just to feel that heel work a little bit more and this toe almost raise a little bit more in the backswing to allow your hips to turn. But again, check out your turn. If you turn plenty, then don't worry about this so much. You know, this is for the guys that don't turn and have this kind of very wooden look to the backswing rather than this kind of flow and rotational look to the backswing. So let's just try a shot here. Try and feel it. We really try and feel the hips turn. So ideally should be upper body first, or arms in upper body, then hip turn. But definitely want to feel I've got that hip turn happening rather than not. I don't want a stiff looking backswing and that kind of short over the top looking swing happening in the golf swing. So have a look at your hips, you know, have a look at how this helps your understanding. Don't be scared to allow your hips to move a little bit, not swaying, but rotating to allow us to have that flow in the golf swing, to allow our downswing to be correct and allow our downswing to work in the right channels and find the slot, if you like, and then turn onto the golf ball. Hope you've enjoyed this video on the hips. If you have, please click like down below. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I've got regular content coming every single week on a variety of subjects. And please post any comments, particularly of videos you want me to cover in the future. Thank you for watching.